Happy Wednesday, everybody. This recording is for Wednesday, November 15th. Thank you for adjusting with me as I am away from my computer. Here's your daily science trivia. I wouldn't leave you hanging. Animals that are active during dawn and dusk are called what type of animals? These are animals like deer who come out in the dawn and at dusk. They're not nocturnal. Nocturnal means that they are up and active at night. If they're active during dawn and dusk, they are crepuscular. New vocab word for you today. Crepuscular. You can go tell that to your mom and dad, and they'll be like, wow, are you smart? All right, everybody. I just have a very brief video to share with you today. We're going to just briefly talk about a few things that you're going to learn in Acellus. I have a great big red star on your screen. Please make sure you're staying up to date with your Acellus assignments. Your grade does depend on it. If your grade is low in Buzz, chances are it's because you are behind steps in Acellus. So hopefully today you'll get a chance to get caught up. All right, so once you log into Acellus today, you're going to be hearing about mass wasting. Mass wasting is how Earth's surface is built up and worn down.
Gravity is a force of nature.
I don't think you're going to be able to listen to my YouTube videos, but here's what I have to tell you. When you think about steep areas, ledges, cliffs, things of that nature, mass wasting is this downhill movement of rock and soil. Gravity causes it, right? We love gravity here on Earth because there's only one direction that things fall. An example of mass wasting could be a rock fall. So when large individual blocks of rock fall off of a cliff or down a steep mountain, due to erosion, the rock can't support the weight above it, so it falls down. Rockfall is a type of mass wasting. Rock slides are a type of mass wasting. So when large masses of rock slide down a slope, that is also an example of mass wasting. Rock slides can actually come up to speeds of 100 kilometers per hour. They are very dangerous. And oftentimes we see rock falls or rock slides near very steep areas of terrain. Now, in addition to rocks, there's also mud flow, which is a type of mass wasting. Mud flows happen when a mixture of rocks and soil, plant matter, and even water flow down a mountain or volcano. It could be caused by lava landing on ice, and the ice is going to melt quickly and take everything along. Mud flows are very dangerous and they can travel very long distances. And you can see some of my examples here in these images. Mud flows are different than my number 4, slumps. Slumps are another example of mass wasting. When heavy rainfall starts a slow slide of loose debris down an embankment. Number 5 mass wasting example is a creep. This is hard to see right away, but a creep is when soil and debris move over long periods of time. Oftentimes we see creeps, especially on the side of a slope where a fence line gets tilted, or if you have like a retaining wall and your retaining wall starts to bow or break. Sometimes we'll even get these tension cracks in a roadway. It doesn't happen very fast. It happens over time. Trees can even be affected. You can see this on an embankment where there's a curved tree trunk. So it's kind of interesting. So mass wasting, all because of gravity, and it's this movement. You'll also hear today about how water movement shapes land. As many of you know, rivers and streams shape and change the earth as well as provide fresh water and good soil. Water forms at the lowest points. Water and rain are pulled to these low areas by gravity, and water will continue to run downhill, meeting up with other water and draining into a great big basin of some sort. So as you can see in this image, where the water is the lowest point, and it's always going to flow towards that lower, the next lower area. Now, you probably have heard of the Great Divide. A Great Divide is this high point that separates rivers and streams. We have the Great Divide in the United States. As you can see on this image, here is our mountain range, and everything on the east side of the mountain range flows towards the Atlantic Ocean, which is over here. Everything on the west side of this mountain range flows towards the Pacific Ocean, which is over here. So it's the high point. And obviously, many of you are saying to yourself, well, Mrs. Conrad, those are the Rocky Mountains. And you're right. The Rocky Mountains are the Great Divide of our continent, North America. It's a good way for you to see it. When we talk about floodplains, these are areas of land that flood when rivers overflow, because it's true. Sometimes we have too much water. Floodplains are overflowed rivers. They tend to be very fertile pieces of land due to the rich soil and the organic material that the river deposits there when it floods. And so floodplains are super famous for farming. Many of you are familiar with the Nile River. The Nile River is where there's a lot of farming in places like Egypt, where Egypt is mostly desert, but near the Nile River, near the floodplains, it's really good farming. So when rivers and streams begin to lose speed, they can't carry as much sediment with them. And when that happens, the sediment is deposited, sometimes forming deep valleys. Valleys are formed either in the shape of an alluvial fan, a cone-shaped land formation that forms when streams deposit their sediment and get redirected. You can kind of see how this fans out. It's almost like a seashell in a way. And then, of course, we have deltas, are areas of land formed by the buildup of sediment at the mouth of a river. And I have a couple pictures here. This guy's not going to play for us, but my next picture will be good. Showing an alluvial fan and how that works. So it spreads out. You can see the spread right here. And that's where that sediment is placed. And it looks like a fan. Here's a diagram, as you can see. But if I show you a bird's eye view, you can definitely see it. Isn't that amazing? It's that alluvial fan. It spreads out. It's pretty remarkable. So in addition to gravity, and in addition to water, waves also shape our land. Longshore drift and longshore currents work together to move sediment and earth along a shoreline. So if you've ever been to the ocean or to a lake where there can be waves, longshore drift is the zigzag motion created when waves hit the shore at an angle. But remember, gravity pulls the water back in directly towards the water. So longshore current is the current of water that flows along the shoreline due to waves hitting the coast at an angle. You can kind of see that. The waves are coming in, and there's that zigzaggy movement. So waves will also shape land. It's this constant back and forth movement. All right, let me see. It's not going to let me play that for you guys, unfortunately. But just some other really cool things that happen on our Earth's surface. We've heard gravity, we've heard water, waves, as does wind. Wind shapes land. Wind forms dunes. Maybe you've heard of sand dunes, as you can see in this image. Some dunes can be as high as 300 meters tall. A loess is an accumulated deposition of fine sediment that is blown by the wind. 10% of land on Earth gets blown away. And then, of course, desert pavement, as you can see here, rocks and gravel that's left behind when the wind can't lift any more of those big particles because all the teeny tiny particles have blown away. And lastly, glaciers. Glaciers are these large blocks of ice that not only include ice, but also sediment and rock, sometimes organic material. Glaciers form when snow falls and compacts together over time. And portions of that snow will begin to melt and refreeze. And as things melt and refreeze, glaciers can become super big and they flow across the surface of our Earth. They flow because of the weight of the ice that pushes or squeezes the glacier forward. Now, glacial slides happens when the ice on the bottom of the glacier starts to melt. And it reduces the friction and gravity pulls it slowly down the hill. And we can see a couple examples of different glaciers here. Alpine glaciers are the small ones that are usually on mountaintops. That's this top one. Continental glaciers sometimes are called ice sheets. These are formed during the Ice Age, or were formed during the Ice Age, and are much, much larger. They form over continents and put so much pressure on themselves that they spread out in all directions. It's pretty amazing. Now, as glaciers move, they pick up sediment and debris from the land. And so as they're moving down a hillside or a mountain, they deposit this sediment and debris. And the area on the side of a glacier's path where the till has accumulated has been built up is called a moraine. Maybe you've heard of the Kettle Moraine. We actually have the Kettle Moraine here in Wisconsin, where we have irregular ridges and upland areas that extend for more than 120 miles, mostly in Sheboygan, Washington, and Waukesha counties. And that land has been made up of glacial sediment deposited between Green Bay and Lake Michigan approximately 18,000 to 15,000 years ago. It's pretty cool. And here it is. You can see it right in this direction, this area. All right, I'm running out of time. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to catch up on your Acellus today. You need to work through steps 38 through 48. 38 through 48. Be ready for our review and exam tomorrow. 38 through 48, everybody. And put in your attendance today, which is hunting season. It's just about upon us. All right, use your time wisely. I will see you back in class on Thursday at 11. Toodles.